So before we go anywhere, let's take a breath together. So inhaling through your nose and slowly exhaling. Good. So last episode, I told you the truth about religion, about how it was designed to divide and conquer, about how God is inside you. Today, I want to show you what that actually means, what it actually feels like. Because understanding that God is inside you intellectually is one thing, but knowing it, actually hearing God, conversing with God, building something with God, that is a completely different experience. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. That is why this episode is called God as a Conversation, Not Command. And one thing I do want to mention is that in the books by Neil Donald Walsch, Conversations with God, he mentions, or God mentions, still in my head is he, but God mentions that they are commitments, not commands, that he would never command us to do anything. He, she, source, God, that God would never command us. And that sat with me very well. And because they are not commitment, they are commitments, they are not commanding. There's no commanding being done. And that sat with me very well, and it was like aha moment, a big aha moment. So I do want to tell you about another moment that changed everything for me. And this was after I was reading those books, Outwitting the Devil, Eckhart Tolle, the list goes on, Michael Singer, but primarily Conversations with God. And I was in the massage room, I was working on someone, and a lot of times this is when I have like my downloads, which is not so keen. I don't know why. I have to get downloads when I'm massaging people. Sometimes I do flip on the recorder on my phone, just so if I'm talking to the person, and they do know that. And but if I'm not, I try and like make a note if I can, if I actually can make a quick note, because if I don't, once I walk out of the massage room, it's gone. But I just find it funny how that works. So that room is clearly a channel for me. And so when I was in there one day working, I don't know if I was fully done. I know I read Outwitting the Devil first, Eckhart Tolle, Conversations with God. And it was just during, I remember I was working on the legs, and I was like, just, shits and giggles. In my head, I went, God, are you there? And I heard a response in my head, and not my voice, not like my own inner voice that I normally hear when I talk to myself, because, we all need expert advice, right? Said yes. And that one word changed everything. And I was like, and it was also like a voice that wasn't unrecognizable. It was one that I've heard from early on. And so that is where everything changed. But the thing is, I wasn't in a church. I wasn't on my knees. I wasn't asking for permission or forgiveness. I was just asking, and God answered. Not because I did a ritual, not because I had the right beliefs, not because I earned it. Just because I asked and God was there. Religion taught me that God was distant, that God was watching, that God was waiting for me to mess up so he could punish me. Actually, he's just living his... They said it in the book about, like, God said that he is, and now I can't think of the word. It apparently doesn't want to stay with me. But it's almost like he is watching everything unfold of what he has created, or what God has created, through each one of us. And I just can't think of the name of what I want to call it. But anyways, not to go stray off topic. So the God, demanded obedience, not conversation. That I had to go through intermediaries, priests, the church, the institution, to access God. That God commanded, then I obeyed. There is no dialogue. There is no asking questions. There is no relationship. There is just do what you're told or face the consequences. God was external and I was small. But the God that answered in my massage room, that wasn't the God of religion. That was something else entirely. That was a presence that was with me, not judging, not commanding, just there, acknowledging, responding, present. And here's what I've learned since that moment. God never tells you to do anything bad. God never commands you to shrink. God never asks you to give away any of your power. God never says, obey me even if it hurts you. Because God is love. And love doesn't demand obedience. Love invites conversation. Love invites co-creation. Religion says God commands. You obey, that's the relationship. But actually, the relationship, the real relationship, requires something different. It requires a dialogue. It requires listening. It requires trust. It requires both people showing up. When God commands, you're small. When God converses, you're present. When God commands, you're looking outside yourself for answers. When God oversees, you are listening to something inside of yourself. And when God commands, you're afraid of punishment. When God converses, you're building something together. A conversation with God is not about God telling you what to do. It's about God, the divine inside you, the love inside you, the wisdom inside you, reflecting back to you what you already know, what you've already sensed, feel. It's about confirmation. It's about alignment. It's about moving from isolation to co-creation. But here's something that took me a long time to understand. Your intuition is not really separate from God. Your intuition is God's voice. God's voice. When you have that gut feeling that something is right or wrong, when you know something about knowing why you know it, when you feel drawn towards something or repelled by it, that's God speaking. But this is important. You have to do the inner work to be able to trust that voice. Now, maybe people have been doing it and not realizing it, and it comes sooner than others, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. But you will know. But for years, you were taught not to trust yourself. You were taught to look outside for answers. So your intuition got buried under fear, doubt, and conditioning. And now the work is to uncover it, to build the skill of listening to it, to know the difference between your intuition, which is God, which is love, and your fear, which is the conditioned voice telling you to be small. So here's the simplest way I know to describe this. Love is a guide. When you follow love, when you follow what feels true in your heart, what feels aligned, what feels right, you're following God because God is love. It is that simple. It is not difficult. Maybe this should be another episode, but love is not what we think it is. It's not just a feeling, it's a way of being. Because following love means you're letting go of what you think you should do. It means trusting your heart instead of your conditioning. It means saying no to things that don't feel aligned, even when they look good on paper. It means saying yes to things that feel scary because they feel true. Following love means listening to your intuition and acting on it, even when you're not sure, even when other people question you. When it doesn't look like what success is supposed to look like. If it feels like love, if it feels aligned, if it feels true, that's your answer. But here's what's important. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to listen to my intuition now and expect it to work. Because your intuition is buried, or has been, or maybe it's been slowly coming out. Your nervous system has been trained not to trust itself. You have been conditioned to look outside for the answers. So, the first step is inner work. Meditation, breathwork, slowing down, listening to your body, building the skill of presence. Learning to distinguish between the voice of love and the voice of fear. Learning to feel the difference in your nervous system. When I did my own inner work, when I sat in stillness and when I practiced breathwork, when I learned to regulate my nervous system, that's when the conversation with God became possible. That's when I heard the yes. Because my nervous system was calm enough to listen. My mind was quiet enough to hear something other than fear. My heart was open enough to recognize love when it spoke. And we all can go back on, oh, if I did this sooner, if I did that sooner, if you just did it sooner. Like I read those books and I was like, why couldn't I have found those 10 years ago? Where were these back then? Because everything has divine timing. Everything is meant to happen at a specific time. And if it's not ready for you yet, it's not going to come into your life yet. So those books came in, even though it took 25 years to come in, it came in. And I keep hitting the mic. Sorry. So the moment in that massage room wasn't a one-time thing. It was something beginning. It was the beginning of something ongoing. Now, I'm constantly in dialogue with God, with the divine inside me, with the love that's running through something, running through everything. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it comes as a clear knowing, sometimes it comes as synchronicity, sometimes it comes as a person or a book or a moment that just lands exactly where I need it. But it's always there, it's always listening. I am always listening. And as long as I'm doing the inner work and staying connected, as long as I'm choosing love over fear. And here's what's really important to understand. This isn't about God doing everything. This isn't about God commanding you to sit back and wait for miracles. Because we all know that does not happen. This is about co-creation. You and God building something together. You bringing your will, your effort, your intention. God bringing the alignment, the guidance, the love. You doing the action. God opening the doors. You trusting your intuition and God confirming it. You showing up and God showing up with you. There is a saying, and I don't know it exactly, but it's this guy stranded on an island. And he's like, all right, God is going to come save me. A boat comes by with someone. And he's like, oh, do you need a ride? Do you need this? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, God's going to save me. And then this happens a few more times. And then I believe he passes or he gets stranded there. And he's like, why did you not save me, God? Well, I sent you a boat. I sent you this. I sent you that. You didn't take any of it. So God will not do it for us. We still have to take action and listen to it and move forward. So, here's something I do need to tell you to move on from that story. I didn't always know how to do this. I started Aligned to Wellness the wrong way. I started it as a coaching program because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. That's what other people basically told me I should do. It was a 3-month program. I was trying to sell it. I got some people into it, and yes, it helped them. It was great. I loved doing it, and I loved helping them. That part was real. But there was always something off inside me. I would be doing the work, and simultaneously, I didn't want to be doing it. I was confused. I was conflicted. I was helping people, but my own nervous system was saying that this was not aligned. Because I was doing it from the old paradigm. I was trying to sell transformation. I was trying to convince people they needed me. I was operating from scarcity and the need to make money from a service and not love. And my intuition, God inside me, was screaming, this is wrong. But I didn't listen. I just pushed through. Because that's what I thought I had to do. And then when I read Conversations with God, and months later, I was talking with someone and they had questioned me about what I was doing. And they asked me something that made me stop and really look at everything. And in that moment, I woke up. I realized I wasn't in conversation with God about this. That I was doing what I thought I should do. I was letting other people's expectations run my business. I was operating from fear and not love. I was selling and not facilitating. I wasn't doing what I loved to do. What I could wake up every day doing. And that's where everything shifted. That's when I realized this is not a co-creation. This is something in me trying to force something. Or not in me. It was just something I was trying to force. Because I thought I had to do it. I thought that's what I needed to bring in money to do. You know, I thought I had to do it. Is what it comes down to. So I stopped. I let go of the whole coaching model. I listened to what God actually was telling me to do. And that's how Aligned to Wellness became to what it is now. Now, it's not me telling you what to do. It's me inviting you into your own conversation with God. It's a container where we're doing the inner work together, where we're learning to listen, where we're practicing the dialogue with the divine inside of us. It's me facilitating your awakening, not selling you a transformation. It's a space rooted in love, not scarcity. Because that's what happened when I aligned with God's guidance. When I stopped doing what I thought I should do, and I started doing what I knew was right. And that's when it became real. That's when I started actually transforming people. Not because I was better at selling. Because I wasn't. I didn't like doing it. It's something that frustrated me. I loved doing the workshops, setting them out, getting out there, and doing it was not my cup of tea. But this stuff I love doing. I love, even if I'm reading a script that I made, I love doing videos. I love creating content. I love facilitating meditations and breath work and things that people can go through and transform. And I was finally in conversation with God. And from that place, all this has just flowed through. This is the foundation for everything. When you follow love, you can't go wrong. There's a whole saying on it, right? Follow your heart. So when you follow your heart, when you follow what feels aligned, When you follow your intuition, you may make mistakes, you might learn hard lessons, but you won't betray yourself. You won't end up in a place you never want to be. You won't wake up one day realizing you've had spent decades living someone else's life. Because love, real love, the kind that God is inside, the kind that God inside you, love never steers you wrong. Fear steers you wrong. Conditioning steers you wrong. Trying to please others steers you wrong. But love is the one true guide. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, how do I have a conversation with God? Here's the answer. You start doing the inner work. You sit in stillness, you breathe, you meditate, you slow down. You learn to feel your body, to sense your intuition. You practice distinguishing between love and fear. You build the skill of listening to something deeper than your thinking mind. And then, when you're ready, when your nervous system is calm enough, when your heart is open enough, you ask. You might casually ask like I did, or you might ask in a formal way, but you ask. And you can still even try it now, why not? If you don't hear anything, you don't hear anything. If you do, start doing the work. But when you ask, and if you listen, really listen, you'll hear an answer. It may not be in words. It may be a knowing or a feeling or a sense of alignment. In a presence of something larger than yourself. Because we have to understand it may not always be words. For me, it's not always words. I heard it that one time because it was my time to finally hear it come through. But ever since then, I don't hear many words. It's more of a knowing. But from there, you converse. You bring your questions, your doubts, your hopes, your intentions. And God, the divine inside you, responds. Not with commands, but with guidance, with alignment, and with love. Religion told you that you shouldn't have this, that you needed intermediaries, that you needed permission, that you needed the right belief system. But that was a lie. You've always had access to God. You've always been able to converse the divine. The only thing in your way was the belief that you couldn't. The conditioning that said you weren't worthy. The fear that said it was dangerous. But now you know better. Now you can see God, the real God, and not the religion created the inside you. Waiting for you to ask. Ready to converse? Eager to co-create with you? All you have to do is listen. So sit with this today. When was the last time you felt a knowing that didn't come from your thinking mind? Have you ever experienced a moment where something answered from inside? Would that change if you trusted that it was God? And here's a deeper one. What if the conversation with God has been happening all along and you just haven't been listening? So let's close the way we do every episode by moving out of the thinking mind and into direct experience of presence. Because God isn't something you think about. It is something you feel. Something you sense. Something that's the present. Something that's present when you get quiet enough to listen. Find a comfortable vision wherever you are. If you're driving, please be cautious. If you need to wait, that's fine. Keeping your hands on the steering wheel. If you're not driving, letting your hands rest. Letting your shoulders drop. Your jaw Let's say that again. Letting your shoulders drop and letting your jaw unclench. We're going to do 3 breaths together, and with each breath, you're creating space for the conversation. You're clearing the noise. You're opening to listen. So first breath, inhaling slowly through your nose and holding at the top. And slowly release through your mouth. Letting go of what you think you know. Second breath in through your nose. Holding. And out. All the way, creating space. One more in. Hold. And release. Good. Now just for a moment sit here, in the space that you've created in silence. Ask yourself, is there anything here, any presence, any knowing? Don't force it, just listen. God doesn't need you to be perfect. God doesn't need you to do anything special. God just needs you to listen. And that listening, that presence, that's where the conversations begin. So thank you for being here. Thank you for opening the possibility that you can have real conversation with God, not through an institution, not through intermediaries, but direct inside yourself right now. In the next episode, we're going to talk about something that blocks this conversation. Fear as the great controller. Because fear is the voice that tells you the conversation isn't real, that you're making it up, that you're not worthy of being heard. And we're going to look at how to recognize fear and choose love instead. But before you go, I want to say something. If this resonates with you, if you're feeling the possibility of a deeper conversation with yourself and God, this is exactly what Aligned to Wellness is designed to support. It's not about me telling you what to do. It's about me guiding you back to your own conversation with God, your own intuition, your own co-creation. In this membership, we do the work, the inner work together. We practice presence. We build the skill of listening. We learn to distinguish love from fear. We practice the dialogue. And we integrate it into our daily life. It is a container for real transformation because you're not just learning concepts, you're practicing the conversation. If you're interested, the link is below. But if you're not, that's fine. Keep listening because the conversation with God is already happening. You just haven't tuned in yet. It's the love frequency. So if this landed, share it. Leave a comment. Tell me, have you ever experienced a moment where something answered from inside of you? I read every comment. I see you. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.